Okay guys, let's roll. We've got some visitors to the bunker. They've come down to see what the latest news is from Advance UK. Ben Habib's just released an interview that he had with, I think, the BBC. You can tell I mean business today, guys. I've got my working clothes on, yeah? Oh, and an old rugby club tie. That's the Gwent Association. I used to be an officer at Blaina Rugby Club. They were a great team, great boys. Yeah, I still make donations to them now and again. Okay, let's get on with it. Let's go have a look and see what Uncle Ben is saying, is it? Here he is. I'll stop every now and again perhaps to give my opinion on the interview.
Kind of live for, but at the same time, profound implications for UK politics, I think.
Let's speak to Ben Habib, former deputy leader of Reform UK. Who wins, Ben Habib? The Conservatives for getting rid of a traitor or Reform for acquiring one?
Well, I think what we're all sort of losing sight of is that parties are merely a collective of the people in them, the representatives of the parties. And Reform is soaking up all the same people that it claims delivered this country into the peril in which we now find ourselves. Reform is a mishmash, actually, of everything that is bad about the Conservative Party. But also it's taking on Liberal Democrats, Labour Party members, and as you just said, they're expecting a defection from the Labour Party. So for Farage to get up and say he's going to change the way politics is conducted in this country, it's going to be a new force in politics on the centre-right, actually, Farage and Reform represent nothing other than a recycling of what's gone before. And the shame here, really, from me, from a personal perspective, for what it's worth, is that I had thought Jenric's apparent conversion to being a right-wing politician, because remember, he voted Remain, he was a Wet, he was a Cameroonian. After his appalling stint as Minister of Immigration, he resigned from Rishi Sunak's. He resigned his ministerial position when Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister, and adopted this right-wing persona. But the fact that he's prepared to go and join people like Jake Berry, Nadine Dorries, Andrea Jenkins, and of course, most recently and controversially, Nadeem Zahawi, tells me that he's really saving his skin as opposed to having genuinely bought into the persona that he was trying to convince the nation that he was. And so I see Reform as nothing other than a continuation of what so many people call the Unit Party, and Jenric joining them actually doesn't change the sum total of what the British people are going to experience. There's going to be no particular change in the way this country is governed, because Reform has simply become another manifestation of everything that's gone before. And it's wrong, if you don't mind me saying so, to talk in the terms of, well, the Conservative Party's dead or the Labour Party's under pressure. All of that's kind of semantics when the same people are being recycled. And that's what we mustn't lose sight of.
It's not a recycling, though, Ben, is it? Peter Cardwell here, by the way. It's not a.
Hi, Peter.
It's not a recycling, is it? If you have a bold and very, very different vision, which others have bought into. Lots of people change parties. Lots of people are moving from the Conservatives to Reform, perhaps.
Yeah, I gotta come in here, guys. I gotta come in. If you believe in a political party and its policies, you don't jump ship when it's in trouble. You stick by it. It's called loyalty, not blind loyalty. If you've got ideals and principles, that's what you stand by. Interesting what Ben calls the Uni Party. Must be 20, 30 years ago when I first started writing patriotic articles. I referred to them as the Uni Party then. I started off by calling it the tri-axis of evil, Lib, Lab, Con, yeah. We knew back then, British patriots did, that they were all in fact just one party on a rotating dictatorship, yeah, taking turns to govern, whilst the same policies, so globalist policies and agenda was being carried out. Moving on.
From Labour to Reform or to the Green Party or your party or whatever, people change their mind based on the facts that are there. And Reform UK does have a very different vision to the Conservative Party, and a vision, I would argue, that actually hasn't been out there before.
I entirely disagree, Peter. If you listen to what Farage has been saying, he's been all over the place. A year and a quarter ago, I should say, he said that mass deportations were impossible, that they were a political impossibility, that he had no ambition of doing them. And then under pressure about 3 or 4 months ago, he came out with a mass deportation policy, which he immediately held below the waterline by saying that the European Convention of Human Rights will be removed from Great Britain, but not Northern Ireland, making Northern Ireland a repository for all illegal migrants. He did the same with his transgender thing. He ditched his DEI, but then he couldn't make up his mind about whether men...
I got to come in here quickly, guys, on this. What Ben said about Northern Ireland, Ulster, very, very important. We don't leave a man behind, okay? And we certainly don't leave behind one of the most patriotic parts of the United Kingdom, which is Ulster, Northern Ireland. Sorry to interrupt you, Ben.
Who've had the operation to become ostensibly women would be allowed into women's prisons or not. He is all over the place. And you are ultimately, Peter, as a party, as the name suggests, just a manifestation of the people in it, the people who represent it. And if all you've done is take on the views of the people that brought this country into the predicament it's in, and particularly if you're Nigel Farage, a man who doesn't have a political vision. That's where I really disagree with you. He pivots this way or that way, as I've indicated. If you're particularly Nigel Farage and you take on all these people, you are just going to be those people. What Farage is doing, which is undoubtedly clever, is cunningly making sure he's in a position to win the next general election. But if the people think that they're going to get a different form of government, they're going to be sorely disappointed. And on the generic point,
well, look,
if I can just develop...
Hang on a minute, Ben, because we've heard a lot from you, but Nigel Farage is actually doing a very good job. No, great. Nigel Farage is actually doing a very good job of appealing to the British public. Yes, he has to turn these pledges into real policies to enact. But he is on to something. Pledges? Well, raising income tax, raising the income tax personal allowance to £20,000, cutting stamp duty for properties under £750,000, scrapping net zero.
This revolting interviewer, this woman. By the end of this video, you'll be wondering why they bothered to ask Ben to come on. Because she will not stop speaking. She will not stop interrupting. She is totally pushing reform. It's let's move on.
Denounce the entire what was labelled as the contract with the people, because he thought manifestos had been so the promises made in manifestos has been so abused. What he called the contract with the people in 2024, he has ripped up. He did that a few months ago when someone pointed out actually that some of the equations...
Hang on a minute, Ben. Yeah. Hasn't he ripped it up to give it another go, to start again? Part of Reform's pledge right now is to prepare for government. They have to take their wish list and they have to shape that into something that is realistic and is costed.
But
and look, we need to be patient with them whilst that happens. But at the end of the day,
Kate, you've got to be factual.
Well,
he particularly denounced.
Ben,
Kate, can I just finish?
We are insulting every single member of the British public who is attracted to reform because they're so disillusioned with the other political parties.
Well, that's
it's
the
not
point.
what it isn't what Nigel Farage is pledging. They like some of that, but what they like more than anything else is that reform is not Labour, is not the Conservatives, is not the Lib Dems, is not the Greens, that they present something different. And that tells you
Kate,
the story.
Kate, you're making my point. He's hoodwinking the public because he is taking into his bosom,
well,
for
then
want
you're
of a better
saying
expression,
that the public are
all the
idiots
same.
for believing him,
No,
Ben.
he is lying. Oh, I'm not saying the public won't see through him. Let me tell you, I am, as you know, leader of Advance UK, and I can tell you the grassroots of reform, who are very close to me because I was responsible in significant part in putting reform on the map. The grassroots of reform are up in arms about what Farage is doing to the party. They do not like what's going on. And there have been a series of announcements by Advance. There will continue to be a series of announcements by Advance, which will evidence that actually he is losing his base. Farage is losing his base. He may be doing well in the headlines on the polls at the moment, but actually it's a house of cards. And but the more he mimics what's gone before, the more the electorate will recognize. Nadeem Zahawi is a great example. Everyone was up in arms about Nadeem Zahawi.
See what I mean about that female interviewer, Kate, what's her name? Yeah, Bennett is absolutely shining here, in my opinion. He's shining. Any reform supporters and members out there, well, I hope you're seeing and listening to what I'm seeing and listening to. Seriously, you are lions being led by a donkey over a cliff. The globalists have decided that reform is going to be the new government in the United Kingdom to carry on their policies. Sorry for interrupting, Ben. You're doing a great job. Great job. The more I see you, the more I like you. The more I see you.
There will be more Nadeem Zahaways going forward. Farage can't help himself. And this is the problem. The electorate are being told that there's a new force coming, but it isn't. It's just a recycling of what's gone before.
Let's talk a little bit about personality, because, Ben, you, of course, rightly said that that parties are about the personalities. Nigel Farage has had difficulty with people who are strong characters. You're one of them. You fell foul of it, as have a lot of other people. He says if people criticise him in public or criticise his party in public, that usually doesn't end well, and he's right about that. I just wonder, when you have some very strong personalities, Yusuf, the policy chief, strong personality, Richard Tice, strong personality, Danny Kruger, strong personality, now another MP, a sixth MP for Reform UK, Robert Jenrick. How will they all get along?
Well, that's a very, very pertinent point. It's going to be interesting to see whether their personalities, because there are strong personalities, you're absolutely right. I'm not sure about Zia Yusuf. He seems to toe the line, or Farage toes his line, one or the other, or both. But these other people joining are strong personalities, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they can stand the test of time. But the point I was going to make earlier about Jenrick joining, and I'm not sure if the Tories who've joined Reform have really thought this through. They had some purchase when they were in the Conservative Party. They've burnt political capital by joining Reform. Farage now kind of owns them, because if they get thrown out of Reform, they literally have nowhere to go. So they will be dancing as best they possibly can and subduing to the maximum extent possible their strong characters in order not to fall out with Farage. Because if Jenrick, for example, were to be thrown out of Reform now, that would be the end of his political career. I think they've made some strategically...
Well, he was lucky that they welcomed him in, wasn't he?
It could have gone horribly wrong.
Because he suddenly had no leverage because he was out of a job. So anyway, sorry, Ben.
Yeah, well, you're right. Of course, he was deputy leader of the Conservative Party, so it's a huge scalp. And that's how Farage sees it. He sees it as momentum. I remember, Kate, you interviewing me at the beginning of 2024 over the Lee Anderson defection, the impending Lee Anderson defection to Reform, when I was deputy leader. And I was less than happy about the prospect of Lee Anderson joining the party. But there were forces in the party that absolutely insisted he should. And that's because the method used by Farage to grow Reform has been one of momentum over principle. He's cunning. He's very clever, great campaigner. He's not a good strategic thinker, and he certainly is not the prayer. He will not answer the prayers of the British people.
Well, what did you think of that? I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Ben Habib at his best. Anyhow, tell me what you think in the comments. Oh, sorry about the flickering and the noise. My machine's starting to overheat. Starting to show its age, I guess. Bit like me. Oh well, what can you do? I'll see you on the next one, guys. You've been listening to Paul Morris, The Green Arrow. See you on the next one. All the way with Advance UK.